And welcome, folks, to the talk show, Let the Truth Be Told. I'm your host, Pastor David. And, folks, we got a great show today. We're going to talk about Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, and the teens and all he's saying Donald Trump is a racist. Also, we're going to talk about J.B. Pritzker, the happy warrior who told the federal government that if Trump is elected, they got to come through me to get me. So, folks, if you ain't got nothing to do, call your friends and let them know you're listening to Let the Truth Be Told Radio. I'm your host, Pastor David. Y'all come on in. Welcome, folks. Thank you. And welcome, folks, to the talk show, Let the Truth Be Told. I'm your host, Pastor David. And, folks, we got a great conversation that I know we must have and we will have today. But first, let me give all praises to God and my Lord and Savior, Yahshua of Nazareth, who made it possible for me to be here, and all of those listening. God bless you and welcome to the show. Now, folks, you know the city of Chicago has been going through a lot of things here. And not only do we have a mayor that is incompetent to be able to lead the city, but he also has got the aid of the governor, J.B. Pritzker, to continue to try to lie to the citizens in the states of Illinois as if they're trying to protect their rights and trying to protect their paid taxpayers' money. Let me put it like that. But we know that both of these individuals have been stealing millions of dollars by bringing illegal aliens in here and getting federal dollars to hide them. But now the jig is up. President Trump has started to freeze all the DEI and all the other monies that these people have been stealing from the American taxpayers, given to the illegals. And it's time to be held accountable for the things that they have done. So later on in the show, we're going to talk about J.B. Pritzker, who now has to go before Congress, and also Brandon Johnson, who's trying to deal with the teen takeover, which is not doing well in the city. And there need to be something done about the young people now who are destroying the city. So in saying that, let me get my guest in here, my co-host. Hey, Doc, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
Man, good. You know, we got a lot to talk about here, and I know that you had some issues you want to talk about. Before I start playing these clips, man, to the American people and patriots across this country, what we're doing is we continue to make you remember. See, it seems like the American voters have a short span of memory because these politicians say things that they're going to do, and then they fade you out with so much other stuff when they've already told you that I'm not going to be any good for you. And then they say, well, I'm going to do this and do that. And then you get lost on what he said he wasn't going to do. And then when he get in office, he do what he said, which is nothing. So, Doc, I think you got some things you want to talk about. What's up with you?
Yeah, Obama actually, he had a recipe for that. He said it in one of his speeches. He's like, if you muddy the waters just enough, to get people to distrust just enough, to believe you just enough, you'll be able to manipulate and control them as you need to. And that's what's really going on in our political spectrum today.
Powerful words, Doc. That's so true.
Just saying.
That's true.
Yeah. For the teenagers in Chicago, this lets you know that, idle hands are the devil's play shop.
Yes.
I probably didn't say that correctly, but
idle mind.
Idle mind is the devil's, playground. And right now what we have is we have our young people who were used to, getting those summer jobs and actually really learning how to earn a wage and save money and do all of these things. And now we have it so where we have individuals now. I don't know how many illegals have actually left the city of Chicago, but I know a lot of them were working in the fast food. They were working in retail, and they were taking up a lot of the jobs our youth would normally take up. But now, even prior to the illegals coming, Chicago has always had an issue with this particular problem. And it's predominantly in the Black community. And it was never like that in the 40s and the 50s, but in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, till today, it's gotten more progressive. But they want to get upset with the children, saying, it's your fault that you're acting terrible, but you don't put anything in place to help them become better citizens. So it's really up to the mayor to put those programs in place. And he doesn't want to do that. He wants the money, but he doesn't want to use the money for what it's supposed to be used for.
Now, let me explain to you what this really is, and to the American people and patriots across this country, especially Chicagoans. See, there was always money in the budget for the teens. Mm-hmm. But see, when COVID came under Lori Lightfoot, see, this was all a plan, Doc. Lori Lightfoot stripped the money out of all of these programs that would give the teens the jobs and all the other stuff that was necessary. Mm-hmm. See, I want the people to understand this was all planned actions, and each one of them had a role to play, from Barack Obama to Rahm Emanuel to Lori Lightfoot. Now we got Brandon Johnson. They've all carried out a certain portion of this plan against the American people. And so when we saw when Rahm Emanuel, he shut down all the schools, okay, thus moving all the Black teachers out of the way. They opened the way with Barack Obama with the DEI, right? So now that once that they got all of these people in place, that Rahm Emanuel get voted out, he hands it off to Lori Lightfoot. Lori Lightfoot deceived the Black community. She becomes the worst mayor one of the worst, next to Brandon Johnson, she's the worst. Mm-hmm. And then what she does is she strips CPS and takes all this money out of the programs for the kids. And then as Black Lives Matter disappeared, you know why? Because Black Lives Matter now are the ones who are training those children to do these takeovers.
Yeah.
You can see the similar pattern. The summer of love, you just go to a place, a town, and you just take it over. Remember the looting in Minneapolis? Mm-hmm. This is the same pattern. And people are sitting back saying, well, no, what it is Black Lives Matter are using your children now for these takeovers. They're telling them you won't even get arrested.
Nope. And they're paying them.
Exactly. And listen, you would think that the mayor of Chicago would call a curfew, shut these spots down, but Lori Lightfoot didn't do it neither. She could have shut it down, but she let it get so bad now to where they feel that they're going to do, yes. And so Brandon Johnson gets up and he support them like, well, they're little kids, you got all that. And they're shooting people, looting businesses, scaring tourism away from Chicago. All of these things are part of the plan to destroy the major cities and bring them to their knees like they did California.
Yeah, but the reversal, what they could do is they could actually help these children start businesses and help them become entrepreneurs and help them get, apprenticeships in different businesses. Learn plumbing, learn a skill, learn how to be a mechanic, learn, computer engineering and computer programming, right? Learn a manufacturing skill. There are so many things that these children could be doing. Instead of shutting these schools down, they should be reopened to be, ROP, which we had in California, which was basically programs for people that were young adults, and teens who are graduating age to teach them how to be nurses, different technical skills, different carpentry skills, even, like I say, even computer programming. And they're basically, 5 to 6 week courses. They get a certificate after that, but they can go on to have a real job or even an apprenticeship in that field that they've studied for and actually gotten training in. What is Chicago doing? You know what I'm saying? It's like you're creating havoc as opposed to using your resources to create prosperity.
Well, this is the whole part of the plan. The whole agenda is to be able to create generations that are not free thinkers.
Right.
They don't want children like me and you who can think on our own, who know right from wrong, who will say, nope, that's not right. I'm not going to do that. See, they got these children who are hooked on these computers and these phones. They're not teaching them nothing. I mean, they can't even count. If the computer don't tell them what the change is, they can't even count the change out the register. And so these are the type of children and generations that are being created as part of the plan to create and be control of this country through ignorance.
Yeah.
See, that's what it is. They don't want no more free thinkers like me and you, because see, we can point out, just like we have our own identity of who we are, these children do not. So that's why they're following BLM and they're using these takeovers. And parents, this is part of your problem too, because after they start implement these things against the parents, they're going to start charging the parents, because there are laws on the book that said if you have unruly children and if they do something, the parents can be held accountable.
Yeah.
Now the parents are going to be held accountable on that, Doc. So this is just another failed attempt by the Democratic Party to continue to try to destroy this republic. Yeah. See, America is a republic. It's not a democracy. The republic means that this country owns to the people of the country. A democracy means that the government rules whatever the government says, and a democracy is it. So they got the American people confused about what it are. America is a republic, Doc.
Yeah, it is. And it is always interesting. They're like, we have a democracy. I was like, stop that. We have a republic. And we should be grateful that we do, because that means we can stand up as citizens and tell our government, stop doing what you're doing. Exactly. You can no longer function in this way. And I think where people get so frustrated is they keep having candidates preach, a real good game, but when they get in office, it's the same thing. And that's the problem between the Republican and the Democratic parties. In my opinion, they've been in power for so long. I'm like, okay, our country should be in a better place, not in a worse place. You've been in power long enough. So obviously we need to make some changes, because it's getting worse. It's not getting better.
Well, and that's the whole thing that we've seen here. I think under the Biden-Harris administration, the American people, not only did they see the demonic direction that they were taking us in, but we felt it. We felt it. Child trafficking increased. Organ harvesting increased. Children are dying from the COVID shot, the COVID experiment. They're dying at early ages. I mean, we've seen it all under this Biden administration. People now are returning back to their jobs who lost their jobs because they said they did not want to take a vaccine that was unvetted. So we're seeing the return of our rights right now. And this is the residue. This is what the residue is. Now we're seeing who the enemy is, because everything President Trump is trying to do to restore the American people back to their righteous place, empower the government, they're fighting it like crazy, Doc.
Well, yeah. And the one thing, because my husband and I were talking about this earlier, the Smith-Mundt Act, he's got to reverse it. If President Trump were to reverse the Smith-Mundt Act right now, everything that the journalism or journalists are doing right now, they wouldn't be able to do it. They would no longer be able to propagandize the American public.
Explain
And
a
right
little bit about
now,
it. That act.
so the Smith-Mundt Act, it was founded in 1913. And what it did was it did not allow our journalists, which incorporated our news of any form, whether that would be, live radio at the time or in print. They could not lie to the American public to sway them emotionally. They could only state the facts. Well, in 2012, Barack Obama decided to reverse it.
Oh my!
And so we've been under that.
See, this is what I'm talking about. These are subversive tactics that have been used against the American people to make this country less safer and instead of being truthful. Because I wonder what happened. Journalism, you used to couldn't lie at all about it.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And the thing about it is, here's what they did before in the Smith-Mundt Act. Okay, so yes, you cannot propagandize the American public, but what the government did is they put in different, I should say, programs or agencies like the public broadcasting system, right? Which we've all heard about, NPR. And they used these arms to forward their agenda. Now, they were able to do it before Barack Obama reversed the Smith-Mundt Act, but they could still get caught, right? Because as long as people couldn't prove that they were propagandizing, it was like, well, why are you coming after PBS? This is some of the only networks that certain people can watch because they don't have cable, but they can get the public broadcasting system. And that was the thing. That was all certain people could get. And so they were feeding them information that they wanted them to be fed. It wasn't necessarily a lie, but it was a narrative that they wanted fed. Okay. Well, Barack Obama came along and said, well, we're just going to take away the penalization of journalists, right? With propagandizing the American public. So now people can say egregious things. And as long as they do a retraction, they're off the hook. But here's the thing. You never really hear about the retractions being promoted as much as you do the egregiousness.
Exactly.
And so take it away. I'm just like, take it away and put some actual guardrails in place and make journalists be journalists. You tell the truth or you don't tell the story at all.
Exactly.
And if you're caught, you can no longer be a journalist. But it's because our government has been involved in actually spoon feeding us the narrative that they want us to believe. That's where this becomes an issue.
And that was a big danger for me when Barack Obama stepped on the scene. Like I said, I knew Barack Obama when he was here in Chicago. He's a big liar because he never organize nothing here. He was only promoted by Michelle's family and the deals that they cut to try to get him into office. That's what this was about. So, he was always able to give good speeches and swallowing words and be able to sway people. But the reason why I'm saying is because it shows what I've been talking about, the agenda. Obama's agenda was to move us toward the New World Order so that they could create the whole new generation of transgenders. That's what his mission was. He wanted a whole new race of people. And so he started by putting Black people to sleep, and then Black people entrusting him, thinking that this is going to be the Black savior. He going to help us. He going to make it right for us. As soon as he got into office, he said, I ain't giving y'all N-words nothing. As a matter of fact, I'm going to take more rights from you and keep locking your children up. And look what happened. It happened. Yes, it did. But that's why we don't get the type of reporting that we should get out of the major guys, ABC, NBC, that can slant the news just like they did with Kamala when they was interviewing her, and yet they changed the whole interview process to try to make her look like she was smart when she wasn't smart at all.
Right. Now, see, that's what my husband and I were talking about earlier. And it's like, with the Smith-Mundt Act, they couldn't do that. Now, could they have done maybe more than one take of her if she messed up and said a wrong word? Of course. But in one take, that is how the interview is supposed to be done. It is not supposed to
Yes.
be spliced and parceled together to give a perception that somebody acted in a certain way when they actually didn't. That's the issue.
And President Trump won that lawsuit against them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
they're trying to fight it, but yeah, I was like,
he's gonna win
yeah,
that.
CBS, unfortunately, and a lot of these media platforms like NBC and ABC, they should have their license taken away, but they're not going to have their license taken away because guess what? They are backed by the federal government.
Exactly.
And as culpable as they are, our federal government is as well. So everybody's on the hook for this. No, nobody's hands are clean in this is all I'm saying. Nobody's clean in this.
But what bothers me the most is because they've done these things in the dark.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And my mom always would say, what's done in the dark comes to the light. Now
does.
the American people and patriots across this country are seeing all the stuff that they did under the guise of COVID. All of it's all coming out in our face right now. And as President Trump continued to expose it, we're finding out, man, this Democratic Party, man, they wanted to actually destroy America.
Yeah,
that was the mission. It really was.
Yeah.
With the illegals coming in, the wars, all the kids going crazy. You got mayors like Brandon Johnson and governors like J.B. Pritzker. The American people almost did not have a chance had we not woke up and voted President Trump back into office, who are now reversing all the things that they did that was wrong to us, Doc. Now, Doc, you got some follow-up stuff that you want to talk about, some stories that we did. We did the Anthony, is it Austin family?
Yes, the Metcalf family and the Anthony family.
Yes.
Yes.
You want to give us an update on that?
Yeah, so far as where we are right now, they've done a press conference, and the press conference is very interesting because I've listened to it a few times, and I understand the representative for the Anthony family and what he's saying. It's like, right or wrong, do they have the opportunity to raise money for Carmelo Anthony's defense fund, very similarly to what was done with Kyle Rittenhouse, and they do. But the media has made this a race issue immediately.
Yes.
And now we're looking at, people fueling the fire to have that summer of love. So this is just one of the boiling points, I will say, in the temperature barometer that we have going into the summer. So we've got the Anthony case, hopefully we don't have any other issues going on. I know over the weekend, I think there was supposed to be like a pro-white rally. I think that was this past weekend. I'm not sure. I have to double check that. But that happened and someone wore an Anthony, but it was the Carmelo Anthony, the basketball player, not Carmelo Anthony, this young man. And on video, they're like, no, you're just trolling wearing this jersey. And the black guy's like, no, I just happen to be wearing the jersey. And he goes, I like Carmelo Anthony, the basketball player, not this young man. But they were like, no, you're trolling, you're being a racist. And so I find it fascinating how we troll one another and how we've even propagandized one another, right? Because we can't, because he had on a legit NBA jersey with Carmelo Anthony's name on it. I'm like, okay, what are we gonna do here?
But it's this type of stuff that keeps the flames going, because they're looking for an incident. They're looking for something right now.
Yeah.
The Democratic Party and to the American people and patriots across this country, I'm just telling you exactly what it is. We're not saying all of these things just to be saying them, but you have to really open your eyes up on why we're getting all this pushback, because we're trying to get rid of the illegals out of the country.
Yeah. And especially with this one from El Salvador. I don't understand what he is or who he is to the Democratic Party, but now we've got more senators or Congress individuals that are going down to El Salvador threatening if he's not released, they're not going to leave El Salvador. What are we doing? What does he have?
Wait a minute, Doc. Wait. For real?
Look.
Wait a minute. They actually, see, this is the mindset of stupidity. And this is what the American people is seeing. You mean to say that some people from the United States
Congress, yes, sir, they are fighting for this.
People from the United States are going to El Salvador,
demanding the release of somebody who came here illegally from El Salvador to be released and sent back to Maryland. Now, this is the man who is allegedly and accused of beating his wife, not once but twice, who is been confirmed by not one but two courts.
That MS-13.
He is an MS-13 gang member. He's also been confirmed in his own country of being an MS-13 gang member. He wears the tattoos.
Yes, he does.
Of the gang, because you cannot have those tattoos unless you were a member of this said gang. And yet our
people are going down the Democrats.
Whatever he knows or whatever he has on them, there is somebody in the cartel demanding, if you do not get him out, you're going down with the ship. So I don't want to say I want to sit back and have some popcorn to find out what is actually going on and what he has on our members of Congress. But whatever it is, it's pretty important.
Well, you know what? That's what I mean by all of this stuff is coming out. Everything is coming out now right in front of the American people face. You would have to think, and what common sense is it? Just think about this. This guy is really a terrorist in our country.
Yes.
Who are violating laws, who are doing trafficking. He's doing all of the things against the country.
Right.
And you would think that the American people would appreciate President Trump for removing all of these type of people out of our country who came here illegally.
Yes.
And so we have to think about the mindset of these politicians, because just like you said, Doc, what person in their right mind would go to El Salvador to fight and protest for them to release a gang member, a criminal, a trafficker, and all of that to come back to America?
Yeah. And the president of El Salvador has already said he's not going to release him because it would literally be like smuggling him back into the country. And guess what? Even if he's released, he still has to be sent back to El Salvador because he's permanently banned from our country. They deported him. He's done. He can't come back here. He can't. He cannot come back.
To the American people and patriots, whoever these Congress people are, y'all know not to vote for them. Because they have come out right out in the open, said, the hell with America. We done got ourselves caught up into something, and we got to get that man out of jail.
Yeah, because that's all that says to me. Is like, whatever happened, whatever he knows that y'all are a part of, he knows something. And it more than likely does have to deal with the children, right? It comes down to the whatever the child trafficking scheme that they were doing for the past 4 years under the previous administration.
Exactly.
Whatever that was, he knows something.
Well, he got to know a lot, because if you can force people out to do something like that, you got to go over there on your own risk. You're not going over there to say that you're doing American business. You're not going as a congressperson. You're going as a regular citizen.
Right. Because even I want to say he was stopped in Tennessee on a traffic stop and ran his plates and everything. And they knew he was illegal. When they called it in, I guess a higher up said, let him go.
Oh, yeah.
So like I said, again, whoever this person is.
Yeah, he got somebody caught up, Doc.
Look, they're like, we will take all of you down with us. But one person being this important, it's screams scandal.
Well, you know what? I'm going to get me some popcorn and I'm just going to sit back and watch how this unfolds, because in a minute, somebody's going to have to say something on why they're over there and why they're taking these chances to go over there. What are you going to do when you get there? Sleep outside the prisons and hold signs up and say, free, free, Baba?
Well, they did let him go out for margaritas with one of the senators that went down there.
Oh
That
man.
happened. That happened. There are pictures. There's film. And that's why a lot of people are confirming that he is an MS-13 gang member because of the tattoos on his arm that were exposed.
Yeah. He's got something on somebody, man, and that's why they go take chances. They got to try to do something. But anyway, Doc, coming back home to Chicago,
All
let me
right.
tell you what we got going on. See, when President Trump got into office, I don't think that they really understood. The Democratic Party didn't understand what was going to happen. And I think that they got out here, and the governor here, he made a lot of strong comments to the president about how he is going to protect the illegals here, how he's going to stand up and fight, and that you got to go through him to get to his people because he's a happy warrior.
Yeah.
And so now things have gone in a different direction for him. Brandon Johnson went down there and made a fool of his idiot self. And now J.B. Pritzker, who have made all of this talk and all this stuff, now he has been called to the Congress. And he has been told what he needs to do. But first, Doc, I want to play this clip of the governor of Illinois telling the Trump administration what he is and what he ain't gonna do. Check this out, Doc.
This afternoon, Governor Pritzker promises Illinois will protect vulnerable communities as Trump returns to the White House.
Political reporter Paris Schutt spoke with the governor today about this week's election. Paris?
Well, yeah, Sylvia, the governor's making his first appearance since Trump's victory, and by his statements, he says Illinois will continue to be part of the resistance if Trump's agenda becomes extreme. And he says he will be a, quote, happy warrior leading that resistance.
To anyone who intends to come take away the freedom and opportunity and dignity of Illinoisans, I would remind you that a happy warrior is still a warrior. You come for my people, you come through me.
Okay, Doc, your thoughts on that?
It's one of those things. Pick your battles, right? That's all I can say. Pick your battles. And this is the battle that he's decided to pick. You chose your side. You chose your battle. You chose politics over your people, even though you told your people you were going to protect them, which is a lie.
Right.
A flat out lie, because you allowed people who were not citizens of this country to overrun your state, Chicago in particular. Okay. So you don't get to say, I'm a happy warrior and I'm a warrior and I'm fighting. What are you fighting for? Because you're not fighting for American citizens.
Well, you know what, Doc? The happy warrior means that J.B. Pritzker is a homosexual. That's just out. That's what it is. And that's his choice on what he want to do. But he say he's a warrior. Why would you be fighting to keep illegals in the state?
Right.
This is what I want the people of Chicago and downstate Illinois to see when they watch this show. This is your governor. He's been governor a couple of terms, and Illinois has become a hellhole to live.
Yeah.
Citizens are leaving this state because of the attitude that they've taken, especially with the implementation of the illegals. Now, a lot of the programs and stuff that this governor has allowed the state to just strip it. They stripped the housing program for money for the illegals, the rental assistance programs, the aid. They've been putting them on Social Security, putting them on disability. They have just exhausted all the money in the state for the illegals. And you know why, Doc? Tell me why you think that is, Doc.
Well, they can utilize it and repurpose it, right?
Yes.
So they can take that money and pull it in whatever direction they want to. But here's the thing. It's like they're pulling in money for citizens of the United States, but then they're redirecting it
yes
to illegals.
Yes.
And it's It's truly harmful. But again, during, in 2021, the Appropriations Act, they actually set aside money for this illegal activity. So they were getting it on both ends, but they were
Well,
putting more of it behind the illegals and not taking care of their citizens at all.
and that is that's tough talk for a guy who's a thief. The state of Illinois is going down the tubes, and people now see J.B. Pritzker really who he is, because J.B. had a super majority of the Democratic Party here in the state. So he been making rules, he been passing laws, and even if the people spoke out against it, he still said, "The hell with the people, I'm gonna do it anyway." Just like he created a law here in the state of Illinois that after an illegal is here for a certain amount of time, they can give them new identities and they can become citizens.
Right. Which is completely illegal. Like, they have to go through a federal process to become citizens of this country. Because what they use is they use the word resident.
Resident, exactly.
As opposed to citizen. Resident.
Yes. And that's how they're changing words or using certain words to make sure that if you say they're residents of this state, then that can make them legal. But so these are all the type of games that here in Illinois that the Democrats are playing against the citizens, and they are so brazen with it now. Just think about the fact of what he was saying then. He's talking about, well, I'm a happy warrior, but I'm still a warrior. So in other words, he was telling the Trump administration that, listen, I don't care what you say. I don't care what you do. I'm going to take care of these people. I'm going to make my money, and y'all shut the hell up, or you in a fight for me. Is that what he was saying, Doc?
Pretty much. And it's going to fall flat, because he's going to have to go before Congress with everything that he said and everything that he's done. And from what I know about certain Congress people, they're going to have their big billboards up. They might even play some videos of him during that hearing. And a lot of times these, I want to say these public officials, they don't think that they can be held accountable. But when you start using federal funds, unlawfully, you can be held accountable.
And see, this is why I say, and I was talking to some young people earlier today at the gym. To the Black community, we have to start researching and finding things out so that we can think and have a better opportunity to make the right choices.
Yeah.
See, ain't no way in the world that nobody here in the city of Chicago should be voting for J.B. Pritzker or Brandon Johnson after we've actually seen with our eyes what they've done to this state and the city of Chicago. There's no way not one Black person should be going to pull a lever in the state for J.B. Pritzker, because he's done nothing for this state but rob it. That's it. And now he's openly saying, I'm going to keep robbing the state, but I'm going to keep bringing people into the country, and I'm going to break the law. I'm going to hide them. I'm going to give them programs that you should have, but you know what? Y'all still going to vote me in because y'all dummies. So, JB, this is for you, JB. Here we go.
The governor's spokesperson says he's evaluating whether or not to accept that invitation to testify alongside the governors of New York and Minnesota. That request comes as President Trump repeats his threat to punish sanctuary jurisdictions.
More than a month after Mayor Brandon Johnson was grilled on Capitol Hill, Governor J.B. Pritzker could be next in line. In a letter, the Republican House Oversight Committee chair requesting documents and communications related to Illinois' sanctuary policies and inviting Pritzker to testify at a May 15th hearing.
Well, there are perils and there are advantages. He's been working very hard to
Now, Doc, let's talk about that.
Perils and advantages. Okay.
Let's talk about that. The peril side. The peril side. Go ahead. I want you to tell me what the peril sides are.
Oh, with the peril side, let's see. You used federal funds illegally. You claimed that people were here legally by making them residents, which is illegal because they have not become federally citizens under U.S. law. You purposely told them how to evade ICE and criminal capture, you know what I'm saying, from ICE detainers. Let's see, you purposely, again, told Chicago, a city within your state, to protect said criminal activity. And I'll just leave it right there. Okay.
Well,
I'll just leave those four on the floor.
Well, the thing of it is, too, for me, is knowingly and willingly. Those are the words that are going to be used. When he gets, see, what they don't think is this. They don't think that they're going to be held accountable for what they're doing.
And they think they're still going to get the money.
They thinking they're going to get the money because, see, from this point, when he made these comments and they called him in, I don't think they had froze the money yet.
No,
they hadn't froze it, and he was still talking smack. So we're gonna play a little bit more of this, and then we're gonna respond to it.
And he's going to be questioned very intensely.
The governor's spokesperson calling the committee's request another partisan dog and pony show, saying Illinois' Trust Act, which GOP Governor Bruce Rauner signed into law in 2017, restricting local law enforcement's ability to cooperate with federal immigration authorities, is fully compliant with federal law.
You need to reverse your policies on sanctuary cities.
But Illinois GOP Congressman Darren LaHood, who questioned Mayor Johnson at his hearing, said Governor Pritzker continues to prioritize the needs of illegal immigrants rather than his own citizens. This all comes the same day President Trump took to social media to say he's working on withholding all federal funding for sanctuary cities and states. For Chicago, that could amount to $3.5 billion just this year. One Chicago daycare operator says many of his families rely on subsidies from federal grants.
And it allows that family, that mom, that dad, to drop a child off in an environment where it's safe.
I'm gonna play this, and I'm gonna talk about this.
The city, which is already strapped for cash, has vowed a legal challenge to any attempt to withhold funding.
Watch break.
Now, Doc.
Yeah.
Listen to this. They asked for phone records. They asked for all documents proving where that money is at. What are your thoughts now with this?
And they should get it. And it should be very easy to attain because a lot of these individuals are on assistance, right? Whether that's food stamps or cash aid or even Social Security. So they should not have a hard time getting those list of individuals because you need an identification card to get those, right? So everybody's got a number. You can't just walk over here from some other country and get all these benefits without at least an ID card. So there is an identification number for everyone.
It came out that Joe Biden gave them all Social Security numbers.
Yes. Yep. Underhandedly and illegally.
Yes, illegally.
Completely
See, this is what I'm talking about. We see it now. We see exactly how the Democrats operate. They're doing everything that they can to act like, well, no, we would never do that. But anyway, here y'all go. Here y'all Social Security cards. I mean, this is all treason. This is treason.
Yeah. They allowed an invasion and they gave aid and comfort. That's the definition.
This is treason. And they should be going to jail for this. But JB himself is not the only culprit because now that he's put himself in this position and he's now have to go before the Congress, they're really trying to right now set him up, Doc. They're going to set him up to the place where he's going to do just like Brandon Johnson. When Brandon Johnson went to the court before the Congress, they made him look really like an idiot. They did. And he confessed
and the money that they spent prepping for this. That's the part. It's like they were prepped by attorneys on how to go about answering these questions and spent taxpayer dollars to do it.
Well, now, see, folks, I played those two clips because I'm gonna play this one and we're gonna end up with JB, get off JB, and we're gonna go to Brandon. But I want to say to the American people and patriots across this country, the law is the law. Yeah. And when you have a person in charge that will enforce the law, those who are lawless will have to fall in line, okay?
Yeah.
Now, JB been talking all that crap when the DOJ filed the lawsuit, and there were some other things that was brought to the attention of the White House, and they froze the money. Now, the money is paused. What they call is a pause, okay?
Right.
He's pausing the money now so that he can cut out the money for Medicaid, daycare, all of that money that is used for those programs. Those programs will be fully funded. So the people in the state of Illinois understand one thing. Those programs will be fully funded. All the president is doing now is he's weeding out the waste.
Yes.
So you're not going to, your Medicaid is not going to be affected.
Right.
Do not let JB talk that they're not going to affect the Medicaid because they cannot. They're not going to affect the child daycare. All of the programs that have been used to assist the people in the state, all of that money will be put directly into that program. It's not going to be a slush fund like they used to having. They just get the money and do whatever they want to do. But the point that I'm making is to the citizens in the state of Illinois, do not worry about your check. Do not worry about your Medicaid. Do not worry about your child care. All of those things will have funds. The only thing that's not going to be funded is all the money that they've been hiding and stealing from the taxpayers to help the illegals, Doc.
Yeah. And to your point, you're very correct. And that's what it is. There is a separate set of funds for this illegal activity. Like I said, if you go to the Appropriations Act of 2021, there were set asides for what they call unaccompanied minor aliens, or they've called them migrants, or they've called them undocumented citizens, anything but illegal. But the point is, there was separate money set aside for them. And that was the money going to these states, in particular, California, Chicago, New York, well, I should say Illinois, not Chicago. But to your point, all of the funds that are in place for citizens will remain. It's for the people that are undocumented, where it's going to be pulled away from them. And they are on a separate tier. There is a specific tier of money sent for them, and they're no longer going to have it. And so what they were doing is they started to circumvent some of the citizens' money.
That's what they were doing.
And they shouldn't have been doing that, but they did. And now they're caught using federal funds improperly. And that's where they're, having to bring in these mayors and governors and say, what are you doing? Because first of all, this shouldn't have been funded in the first place.
Exactly.
But you're not supposed to take federal funds and put them towards illegal activity.
Well, you're not supposed to reappropriate those funds for illegal activity. And to the American people and patriots across this country, especially here in Chicago and the state of Illinois, now you know the truth. The truth is that these programs that take care of our citizens and our seniors, none of these programs are going to experience any cuts.
Right.
But the enemy, the Democrats, J.B. Pritzker, Brandon Johnson, and all these mayors in California and in Boston who have been lying and stealing taxpayer money, they want to bring the fear. They want J.B. Pritzker now want everybody in Illinois to say, well, they froze the money. Y'all not going. Well, anyway, let me play the clip on what he said. Y'all can hear what he said for itself.
We want to let you know that Governor J.B. Pritzker is now holding a news conference on this funding freeze. Let's listen in.
Working families and the most vulnerable people in our state who are affected by these cuts. The United States Constitution clearly states that Congress has the power of the purse and sets laws to obligate federal funding for all 50 states. What Donald Trump tried to do in the last 24 hours is illegal. Let's be clear. This is a demonstration of cruelty.
Wait a minute, Doc. I want your thought on this. Now, this is a man that we just heard out of his own mouth say that he was going to help illegals, and no matter what, if anybody just tried to stop him, they had to come through him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, how is it that you could fix your mouth to say President Trump is holding him accountable, and now that he done got busted, he's saying that it's illegal? Your thoughts, Doc, right quick on that.
Well, it was called redirection, right? We're gonna blame somebody else for exactly what we're doing.
Exactly.
Or misdirection, however you want to put it. The thing is, he's caught. The jig is up. And the president actually does have the power when it comes to federal funds.
Yes.
To not send it. Period. Yes, your state has paid into the pot of federal funds, but he can withhold funds if you are using them for illegal activity, which you are. These people are here illegally. They are criminals.
Yes.
Any funds, $1 used towards them, your jail time. Period.
And now this is why I say the hypocritical stuff. This is what really pees me off with these politicians. He is caught now. Yep. Now the only thing he can do, instead of telling the truth, he's going to lie to the citizens of the state. Now they're citizens of the state is going to be affected. Well, they're going to cut your Medicare. Here it is.
Against people who depend on us. Working families who rely on federal assistance to pay their rent, people who need help paying their utility bills, parents who need critical programs like Head Start for quality, affordable childcare, and 3.5 million Illinoisans who get their health insurance through Medicaid. Despite what the White House press secretary said at the podium earlier, I believe it is my duty to report to you the truth of what actually happened today in Illinois. Donald Trump's administration is lying to you. The White House's attempt to walk back what they did today does not match what we saw on the ground. They assured us that Medicaid would not be affected. That was a lie. Our state agencies were unable to access the Medicaid system until an hour ago, preventing payment.
Okay.
It was prevented for illegals. See, that's what he's leaving out. He's leaving that part out. And it's so sad because, see, people who are citizens, they're fine.
Right.
They're okay. But see, and this is what was happening. Remember how Doge kept saying, all of these systems, they're all broken apart. So this system's not talking to that one. And so you're able to commit fraud because there's no paper trail. There's no tracking. There's no direct path to find out, like, where's the chain of custody, basically. And so now, there's a database with all of these illegal numbers. So if you pull up somebody's name who is illegal, they're not getting that money anymore because they found them. And you're mad because they found them. Yeah. So that person from whatever country they're from and they're here illegally, I don't care what you say, well, they're a legal resident. No, they're not. They're here illegally. They need to go home. They need to be deported.
And I want the people that's watching the show across the country that this type of tactic is being used in these Democratic states, and they're being used all over in these small towns because this is how a lot of the wealth transfer is happening. The only people that are getting the transfer of wealth are the politicians who are saying they're trying to help the community. You would think that after all the talking he done did, saying he was going to take the taxpayers' money, he was going to do what he had to do. I'm the happy warrior. You got to come through me. And now they coming to you and they're removing all the illegals out of these systems because, just like you said, Doc, he's worried now that they're not going to get that money. See, they're not going to get that money. Now there's going to be a problem because they've already took the money that they're going to steal. See, what happens is this. These people, he robbed the rental system program. J.B. Pritzker took $1 billion out of the rental system program. He robbed the housing program here in Cook County. He has robbed all sorts of other programs just to fund the illegals. And here he is telling the citizens of Chicago that the programs that they need are going to be cut when they're not. And he's still fighting to make sure the illegals get taxpayer dollars. Man, this is a shame. We got to pay a little bit more.
Like I said, I don't know whatever they've done, it's got to be huge because they are continuing to fight for these people here that have broken the law.
Yes.
It is scary.
Whatever
It's
it is,
scary.
I mean, they must have done something that's so heinous that if people found out, they're probably going to go to prison for it.
For life. For life.
Yes.
There's like life without parole. You're done. But we need to see these perp walks. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, because they're fighting like crazy. I mean, if you're an American citizen, you represent the American citizens. Why would you be fighting to do illegal things?
Yeah.
This is totally illegal what he's doing. And now he's trying to bring fear by telling the people, well, your Medicaid finna cut. To the people of the state of Illinois, not one dime will be cut from the program, just like the White press secretary said. There's not going to be nothing cut from the American people. They're only taking money from the illegals. And J.B. Pritzker and them then already stole that money, and with no federal funds, they can't wash the money through and pull the money out.
Yep.
That's what it is. They can't pull the money out because the federal money is frozen. Because the way they would just stick the debt in and pull it out the federal money, and they covered their pockets. They're being forced now to make some decisions. They might have to take the money out of their pockets that they've been stealing from the taxpayers and put that money back in, because the federal dollars is not going to allow them to wash through. We're going to watch a little bit more of this, Doc.
Services. And this has been reported from states across the nation. When we reached out to federal agencies, they informed us that they have been directed not to discuss any guidance with states. They have canceled previously scheduled meetings for this week. The White House assured us that Head Start would not be affected. That was a lie. Providers across the state experienced outages, and some were unable to make their payroll.
Yeah.
They experienced
because
outages.
They are taking care of people that are here illegally. Again.
Right, exactly.
Again. Illegals. Yeah, your money's dried up. It's gone. Yeah, the federal's not going to talk to the state. You know why? Because you committed a crime.
Yes. And
Bro.
And I'm people, y'all watching this show, we are really opening the door to you to understand something. They have gotten caught. And the people that are not getting our taxpayer dollars anymore are the illegals that they've already attached to the system, getting the money.
Yeah.
And now that that money is gone, they cannot keep funding these people. And it's whatever it is, it's going to come out, because but then we just play a clip of him saying that he's a happy warrior and you got to come through him.
Yeah.
JB, they coming through you. Let's hear a little bit more of that.
They assured us that they were doing nothing to take away individual assistance from the most vulnerable people in our state.
Wait a minute, Doc. Wait a minute. Expound on that, please. The most go ahead. Expound on that.
The most vulnerable people in the state. He's trying to play on, children, obviously. But again, these are people that are here illegally. See, they started with the criminals, right? And we're talking about, when we say criminals, we're talking about people that were murderers, sex traffickers, the gang members, right?
Yes.
That were deemed terrorists. Now he's gotten most of those out. Now we have to get to the other set of criminals, right?
Yep.
And these are the other set of criminals are the families that came here, and they took the welfare assistance and they took the money. And, we don't know if their children were trafficked or not. We're not sure. But those are the people whose money is gone. It's dried up. Their Social Security, any type of cash aid, any type of food stamps, any type of rental assistance. That money's gone because it never should have went to them in the first place. And this all goes back to our federal government putting this money in their hands. 2021 Appropriations Act. I'm telling you, our government did this. So the government has to look internally at itself and say, yeah, this happened. We need to shut it down, because we can no longer allow the criminal activity to continue. He's trying to play on everyone's heartstrings, like, oh, woe is me, because he's caught. You took the money and you were warned, don't do this.
Yes.
And you did it anyway. So you don't get to come back as the governor and say, oops, we were just trying to take care of people. No.
not the citizens. And,
No.
and Doc, you so right, because when they did this freeze, and I know people that have been affected by it. The people that I know is on straight BS, and they've been using DEI and all sorts of other programs to take the American taxpayer dollars. These are NGOs that are now being affected because they can't get the money now because they've been getting the money for the illegals, saying they helping the American people.
Yep.
So J.B. Pritzker here now is in a position because he is not getting that money, but he's trying to make the people of the state think that they are cutting Medicaid. They're cutting the child care. Yes, they are, but they're cutting it for the illegal people that are here. So those who are on Medicaid, those who are on that money is going to keep coming the way it is.
And guess what? And ICE is going to be there to remove these people from the country if they do not self-deport. They've already been warned. Self-deport and file with us to give you an opportunity to come back maybe in a couple of years. But your hearing is going to be from your home country, and it's not going to be from here. You're going to be taken off of the dole of the taxpayer here. You're going home.
Well,
but they refused to say that they would restore LIHEAP, the Low-Income Housing Energy Assistance Program, payments to support the unemployment system, and Meals on Wheels. These are programs that hundreds of thousands of Illinoisans depend on: children, seniors, veterans, working parents. Let's just be clear about what happened over the last 24 hours. At 7:42 p.m. last night, we saw a memo from the White House saying that they were pausing federal funding across the board. This morning, along with all 50 states across the country, we discovered that our ability to access critical federal funding had been cut off. And now the administration would like us to believe that these were just coincidental website outages. Donald Trump and his administration have not earned the benefit of the doubt. They are either lying to us or they are critically incompetent.
Wait a minute.
This is what happens when you staff the federal government.
That's enough of that. And the reason why I'm pulling it, because he's a liar. He's a thief. He done got caught.
You stole the money.
Yeah, he stole it. He done got caught. The happy warrior, you got to come through me. Now you got to come to the Congress. And what did they say? They want documents. They want records. They want receipts of where the money's at. And when they froze that, the reason why they're not able to access the area of the computer is because they're downloading all this information into the mainframes in Washington, D.C. They're doing the Doge. That's what they're doing. And so
they're capturing all of the illegal activity that's been going on in your state. But again, they're also looking at how the government funded it. When I tell you the perp walks that we should have, like, I'm looking forward to it because there's a lot of people going to be on the hook. Congress people, Biden, I don't know, but they may have to charge him as well because he signed these things into law.
Yes, he did.
They were dealing with the CARE Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, those two, right? Just those two. We won't even get into Build Back Better. But a lot of people, they heard those names and they're like, oh, this will be good. You didn't read it because the devil was definitely in the details. And nobody read it. And nobody looked at how the money was appropriated. No one was paying attention. And I was like reading all this stuff over. I was like, why isn't anybody talking about this? This is so much criminal activity and it's going on with our tax dollars. And people are just now starting to talk about it.
Yes.
They're just now getting it.
And just like what Lowery Lightfoot did when President Trump was in office, he allocated over $260 billion to the Black community.
Yeah.
He sent $381 million for the West Side and the South Side to deal with the fentanyl problem.
Yep.
Lowery Lightfoot took every damn penny of that money and reappropriated it before she got out of office to the illegals.
Yep. Yeah, because there's still a big fentanyl problem going on in Chicago.
It ain't never stopped. They never got the help because they never got the money. And that's why the Black community is suffering, because of bad leadership like Lori Lightfoot and Brandon Johnson. Now they're just sucking the money in and giving it to whoever the big people is, and continuing to lie and cover these illegals. Now we're seeing what it is. Now we're finding out all the areas. And so when they shut their computers down, and I heard a guy earlier that I know that's part of the NGOs talking about, man, Trump done messed our money up. They done shut the computers down, and we can't even
investigate every single thing you do.
Yes. So this is the point that I'm making. If you are an NGO, if you've been in the head of anything, if you are a lobbyist for the state of Springfield and you've done anything that's illegal and it's on that computer, if you have used federal dollars in order to reappropriate to help yourself or help illegals in a certain kind of way, the reason why you can't access your computer no more is because you're fin to go to prison.
It's going to happen. And I know it's not happening fast as people wanted to. I mean, I listen to different outlets and podcasts, and a lot of people giving Pam Bondi a hard time. They're like, why are you the what? I was like, okay, you know what? The law moves intricately, slow, and purposefully. The reason why is because you have to make sure when you go after somebody, you got to have all your ducks in a row and nothing slips. Not a single thing. And the people that she's going after, from the Epstein files to the COVID mandate debacle that's going on right now, to all of these states, right, that where there have been congressmen and women that have put forth paperwork to say, hey, we want investigations into all of these matters. It's a lot. And I know for some people, like, well, we have all this information. Just because you have information doesn't mean it's factual. And you have to have the facts in line and in order to get the indictments to ensure that you can really get people and get them put into jail. Because just a matter of indicting and charging somebody doesn't mean that they're sentenced. Okay. Those are all different parts of the legal system. So I just need people out there to understand. It's like, yeah, we're going to get some perp walks. We might not get all of the ones we want. We'll get some, but they will take time.
And you know, the wheels of justice grind slowly, but when it get to going, it's gonna get to going. I'm just glad that they paused all that money, especially like the program that we stumbled up on. They paused that money.
Good.
So the NGOs like the Divine Nine, the Urban League, the Safer Foundation, the 548, their money has been put on pause.
And the hit dog gonna holler. Look.
And so now they're going through their records. And see, that's what I said. It's going to take the time they're going to take. They're not going to get that money back.
Nope. Not at all.
But more importantly, what they're doing is, if you had all of your crap that was in the computer on how you stole, what you did, and all of that stuff, they got it now. And that's why you can't get in the system. They're getting all the private information, all the little stuff that you done did. And now that they got it, I guarantee you, somebody going to be going to jail.
Yeah. And see, this is the phase that Tom Homan was waiting for, because now that the money is frozen, right?
Yeah.
They're actually going to be able to find out who is here illegally, and they're going to be able to take up buses and literally deport people who decided not to self-deport. And that's the wave that we're gonna start seeing next. And the cry out from some of these governors who unfortunately are criminals is gonna be, oh my gosh, they're taking away citizens and our residents. They're taking our residents away. If you hear that word resident, just know that's code for illegal.
Exactly.
Okay, that's code for illegal, because a citizen is a citizen. We're not. I'm not a resident. I'm a citizen of the
United States of America. Okay.
Okay.
And Doc, you know, you're so right. And this is what we were talking about. And to the American people, rest assured that now that this has come about, that they froze it, now that they're going to find out where all this money going, I guarantee you, people like J.B. Pritzker and Brandon Johnson is going to take that walk. I want to play something else. What Brandon Johnson has been doing, he's been running his mouth. He's the worst mayor with maybe about a 2% approval rating. But he's an idiot because he keep running his mouth. He's guilty of providing for illegals. He's guilty of stealing money from the cities. He's guilty for all of that. And this is what he had to say to President Trump.
Words from Mayor Brandon Johnson to President Trump as the White House continues to threaten millions in federal dollars to the city.
The mayor compares the White House approach to governing to dealing with terrorists. CBS Chicago political reporter Chris Ty here now with a mayor who says he is not going to kiss the president's ring.
Yeah, a very clear message from City Hall today. Mayor Johnson prefaced the comments by saying his communications team won't like where he's taking these comments today. He took direct aim at a White House that he says puts fat cats ahead of working Chicagoans.
Trying to force your will to break the spirit of working people in order to have a conversation, that's terrorism. We're not going to negotiate with terrorists.
The mayor sounding off after the president last week wrote no.
Your comments, Doc.
Well, first of all, that's the pot calling kettle black, like all day long.
Yes.
Because that's all you've done, sir. So, I mean, I guess you're making a correct statement, but you need to take a deep look in the mirror.
Yes, because what he has done, what he said President Trump has done, he's done to the citizens here in Chicago.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
In
That's
spades.
what. Now, and watch him now, because look at him. He is a total, he doesn't have a clue.
No.
He is an idiot. A plumb idiot. And I don't usually call people that, but this guy is an idiot. You are an idiot when you know you're an idiot and you don't want to admit you're an idiot. That makes you a real idiot. Y'all check it out.
More sanctuary cities. They protect the criminals, not the victims. Working on papers to withhold all federal funding for any city or state that allows these death traps to exist.
Unfortunately, this president is determined to destabilize cities like Chicago. And it is incredibly reprehensible, and sometimes even feels incorrigible at times, that this individual refuses to recognize the value of the cities of this country.
This isn't the first Chicago mayor with ultra tough words for a Trump White House.
I will code what I really want to say to Donald Trump. It's 2 words. It begins with F and it ends with U.
That was Mayor Lightfoot in 2020 after President Trump, she says, dishonored the memory of George Floyd. 1 year earlier, though, she crossed the aisle, meeting with first daughter Ivanka Trump at the White House. Mayor Johnson was asked if he would make a similar trip to secure Chicago dollars.
I'm not kissing a ring, okay?
He says the ultra-rich are receiving tax breaks, extremists are driving the bus, and Trump's fellow Republicans are failing to hold him accountable.
Trying to hold people hostage and manipulating them to succumb to his will and then hold up our tax dollars?
This the same guy that shut the city council down to keep the citizens from voting to end the sanctuary city. This is the same idiot who are doing what Trump did in reverse. Trump reversing what he is doing, and he's sitting up here talking about how he is, this is crazy. But he did the same thing to the citizens, huh?
But Trump isn't doing that. Trump is withholding the money and demanding the city do their job and protect their citizens. Period. Period. Trump can't do anything to him. He's the president. This dude is a mayor. It's like, bro, you are way down on the food chain, first of all, to be even having this kind of conversation with the president. But it's like, no, you shouldn't receive any money to continue illegal activity. Stop that. Stop it.
But the fact of the matter is, to me, and what burns me up on the inside, is all the illegal stuff he done did. He been robbed the housing program out the city. Everything that JB did in the state, he did in the city. He robbed the Cook County Housing Authority, the rent programs. He was even using money that he wasn't supposed to be using, giving away cars, letting people squat, giving them $10,000 a month for, man, listen, all the stuff that he
up with
did,
businesses.
all
he
of
did
that.
all that.
He gave them money for businesses and all of that. But you didn't give black people nothing.
Nope. But demanded their vote and demanded their support.
Man, that's why I'm running for the mayor of Chicago, man. We're going to get him out of there. He's a complete idiot. I'm going to play the rest of this and we're going to get out of here, Doc.
Okay.
That is how terrorists behave.
Late today, Border Czar Tom Homan asked if sanctuary city and state leaders should be prosecuted for violating laws on harboring illegal aliens.
Absolutely. And hold tight on that one, because it's coming.
The mayor saying he is serious.
Doc, your thoughts?
Look, it was nice to see Mr. Holman. I was like,
yeah.
Get it. Look, he's standing there smiling because he's like, oh yeah, round two is coming. I'm coming to pick up everybody else who did not self-deport. He's been telling these people, if you are listening and you are not here legally in this country, I suggest you self-deport. I suggest you reach out to DHS and leave. Because if you get caught and you're deported, you will never be able to return to this country. Like, you're done. Like, it's a wrap. And I don't think people really believe that. Don't mess around. FAFO. I'm just saying.
Yes. Yep. And you know what? And I'm glad that they're making this second phase, because now the American people are going to see the real criminals. The real criminals we call politicians. J.B. Pritzker, Brandon Johnson, Mayor Wu, all of them. These are the real criminals who have been stealing from their taxpayer dollars in their states. They've been robbing programs. And now that all of this stuff has been stopped, they got the goods on you. It's too late. You're going to be out of here. That prison walk, whatever that they be doing, listen.
And,
a lot of them.
Mayors aren't protected from prosecution. I need people to understand that. Neither are governors.
Exactly.
People aren't protected.
So I can say this to the American people and patriots across this country. I know Tom Homan. And if Tom Homan said that, it's going to happen. Doc, your last words, we're going to get out of here.
Hey, guys, I know that there's a lot going on in our country and some things we kind of laugh about to keep from crying, to be quite honest. But, you know, when you look up and you see all these things occurring, remember that your redemption is drawing near, and definitely check out the USA Redemption Party. We are looking for people to be candidates and be servants of the people and not politicians like the ones that you have seen, Brandon Johnson's and J.B. Pritzker. We're not looking for candidates like that. We are looking for candidates that actually want to serve their community and do what's right by the people in their community. So again, check us out at usaredemptionparty.com.
Doc, thank you. And we'll be talking later on. Oh, tomorrow on the show, we got Ben Bergquam, Real American Voice, is going to be here. And it's going to be a great show. He'll be updating us about what's going on across the country. So he's probably the most sought after journalist in the world. Ben Bergquam will be on our show. So we'll see you tomorrow, Doc. Have a great evening. Folks, I want to thank you for tuning into the show. It's always a pleasure to spend time with you and to give you information that can make a difference in your thinking process. To the American people and patriots across the country, these are my last words. We should be proud that President Trump is doing the things that he's doing by freezing money and removing all these illegal people out of our programs. To the American people and citizens in the states across our country, do not worry about the Social Security. Do not worry about the Medicaid. Do not worry about the nursery school for the kids. None of those programs will be cut. I can tell you that. But just as we saw Brandon Johnson and J.B. Pritzker lying and saying that Trump is lying, well, none of that stuff is happening. But the only thing that got cut was all the illegals from those different programs that they've been using to get millions and millions of dollars of taxpayers' money. And so to the American people and patriots across this country, let us continue to stand. Let us wait and watch. Don't fly off the handle, just watch, because what's happening now with the Democratic Party, they've been exposed to a place where they cannot return. And now they're doubling down on stupidity as they continue to try to make the American people think that what President Trump is doing by fixing our country and restoring our rights is wrong. Let us stand with him. Let us be one America, and let us make this country great again. I want to thank y'all. Y'all coming in next week. Tomorrow, being very calm. Right here. Let the truth be told. Let the truth be told. I'd rather for you to hurt me with the truth than come to me with a lie. I'll see y'all tomorrow.